Did you know you can just book some of your favorite acts completely on your own and set yourself up as the opener for them and then get in front of all of the relevant fans in your area who might want to go see that act who would probably be a fan of yours too? Because you can, and I'm going to teach you how to do it. This is a way that people have been launching their musical projects since time immemorial. By time immemorial, I mean since like the late 70s. But this is what people are doing to grow in their DIY scenes and to create sort of a grassroots local fan base. And it's hard. It might cost you some money as you start to learn how to do it, but it can be immensely rewarding, open up career paths, and really turn you into something greater, a focal point of your scene, and someone who can really give back. And I wanted to make a video breaking down a lot of how this works. I spoke to a bunch of booking agents, got a script together. I think you might enjoy and learn something from this. For those who don't know, I'm Matt Bacon. I'm Bacon Spits. I'm the internet cigar guy. I've worked with a bunch of artists. You can see some of them over here. And have been booking DIY shows since I was like 18 years old and having some success with it. And I think I can maybe help you understand here's the formula. Here's a lot of what you need to know to start making a serious impact in your scene, building your local community, and using that to help level up your own musical projects the way countless people have done over the years. Let's get into it. So, to start, what you want to do is find an act you want to open for. Start small. Start with something on like the club level that's going to be like 1 to 250 tickets at most, because this way they're more used to DIY people who are just starting out, so you can kind of mitigate your risk and you have a little bit more patience than you do when you're working with huge promoters trying to sell out arenas where it's a lot more of a corporate thing, right? And what you want to do is probably start with someone who is either local to you or within a few hours so that it's relatively easy to get them out to your city, you know? And the other piece is be flexible, right? You want to get the artist you're opening for first and then figure out the date, because working artists are not available when you want them. You can't just say, hey, February 18th, I would like to book a show. Are you there? You have to be like, hey, you know, when is good for you? And then try to find a way to build around that, you know? So what you want to do is you've identified some artists in your area who are a fit. Reach out to either them directly, or they might have a booking agent listed on their Instagram bio or their website or whatever. Or you can Google it and try to find the booking agent, and you want to send an email that essentially says, hey, I'm a promoter from this place. I would love to book you or your artist uh, in this sort of date range. Do you have a tour coming up, or would you be down to do a one-off or whatever? And see what they say. Realize that if it's not a tour, people are going to charge you a little more for a one-off because they have to drive there and then drive all the way home, and they can't just go on to the next place, you know? But you want to just start reaching out and seeing who might be receptive, who might be interested, and then see who replies. And then we get to the next step. So once you have an artist who's interested in playing a show in your town or wherever you're booking the show, then you need to figure out the guarantee. Generally, what I do, if it's an artist on like a $15 to $20 ticket, is I'll calculate a guarantee in the 8 to 10 times what I expect the draw will be, trying to start around the 8 times. So that is to say, if I think an artist is worth 100 tickets in my town, I'll offer them $800 and go from there. If it's a more expensive ticket, you know, a $25 to $40 ticket, I might offer someone 15 to 20 times what I think their draw is in that town. But you want to start really on the low end with lower expectations, make it easier. And also, if it doesn't go well, and your first couple times, you're going to be learning, it might not go super well, which is okay. Be ready to lose some money. So if the guarantee you offered is a little lower, you'll be okay. The other option is to offer what's called a door deal. And a door deal is essentially saying, hey, I can't guarantee you any money, but I will give you 70% of all the money that is made on ticket sales. Or I will give you, 60% after we make back our expenses on the show, which is like the venue costs and stuff, which we'll talk about in a minute. That can work, but it's a lot less likely to get a bigger artist to come out, especially for a one-off if it's just a door deal. So be sure to keep that in mind. And the thing is, you can kind of combine the guarantee and door deal, and this is the expectation a lot of the time, where there's something called a back end. Because basically, the way this is going to work is you have the guarantee you offer the artist, then you have your costs, which we'll break down in a minute. And then once you make all that money on ticket sales or whatever, you can split some of the profit. And that's often expected that, okay, we got paid $500, but $1,200 came through the door. You had to pay $300 in expenses. Of that $400 extra, how about you cut off the headliner a chunk? And very frequently, it works out for everyone that way. The headliner's happy because they made more money. They're excited to come back because they had a good show. And you get to keep that extra profit on the back end too. Now, when it comes to show costs, you're going to have the venue costs, which will be not really super flexible. You can talk here about, the sound guy, the security, um, other staff costs, then you're going to have your marketing costs if you're running an ad on the show, if you're printing flyers, whatever. And then, you can always cut yourself a promoter fee, which is to say, hey, of the money coming in, I want to calculate that I make sure I get a little bit of profit, because that little bit of profit you can reinvest in the future for other shows that you want to do, but don't count on that too much early on, but be sure to have that in your head as you start promoting more shows. When it comes to setting up the actual ticket sales, obviously people can buy tickets at the door, but you want to have tickets available online. Two of my favorite tools for this are Brown Paper Tickets and Eventbrite, because they're really catered towards more DIY people trying to make this happen. There's probably other options if you're outside the US. I'm not super familiar, unfortunately. But what you want to check for is when they actually pay you out, because very frequently these ticket companies might hold your money for like 2 days before giving you the payout. And so you want to clear that with the artist before the show actually happens. And then when it comes to actually pricing your show, just go look at other headlining shows that artist has played and then price it around there, right? So if they're normally doing $20 tickets, go do that, because a lot of artists will not want to play shows with a ticket price over a certain cost because they want to keep it accessible for people. So make sure you keep that in mind around what people are expecting to pay for this kind of artist. Now, you've got the artist and you have a date. Now you want to actually get a venue to do this at. And so what you want to do is go to your local venue and ask for a hold. You're not asking for the night. Most venues won't just give you a night. When you ask for a hold, you're saying, hey, if I get a lineup locked in for your venue on this night, can I have it? And other people are doing that too. So you might be the fourth person to ask for that club on that night. And so what you do is you now have fourth hold. However, once you get the show locked in with the headliner and, you as the local opener or maybe some other local openers, you can say, hey, we're ready to lock this in. We want to challenge the holds ahead of us. And now you have 24 hours for the other people ahead of you to try to lock in their show. And if they don't, the night is yours. And now the venue is going to come to you and tell you, okay, we gave you this. Cool. Here's our venue costs, yada, 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 yada. And so make sure you're hitting them with that and getting that locked in ASAP. Now, there's two very important steps you want to do here. A, you want to get the artist you book's rider and understand exactly what they're expecting you to have. So that'll be like a PA, that'll be like mics, that might be certain amplifiers, that might be who knows, right? It also might be personal stuff. They might be like, hey, can there be socks here? Or this is the kind of beer we want, or whatever. If there's something weird and unexpected, like socks, if I was just starting out, I would get that for people anyway, because you want to build a reputation as like a kind, generous person, right? And you can always take that stuff off the rider as a promoter expense and keep that money on the back end after you've had the show, right? And if the rider is really huge, it's not inappropriate to ask the headliner, like, hey man, we can give you like beer and food, but we can't give you nights in a hotel, and see what they say, right? Personally, I try to keep the hotel nights and flight stuff down or factor it into the guarantee, because otherwise those things start to spiral very quickly, because suddenly everyone likes room service when you're paying for the hotel. Just something to keep in mind. The other big thing to think about is asking the venue, hey, what can you provide, right? So some venues have a full backline and they have a PA and they have all this stuff that you can use. Others, if it's really DIY, they might not have any of that, and you might have to rent that on your own, which becomes another promoter expense that you have to factor in when you're thinking, okay, how many tickets do I need to sell in order to not lose money on this thing? So make sure you're keeping a very clear head on your shoulders about this stuff and keeping track of the money as it stacks up, right? But this is part of why being part of your community is really important, because if you have a good relationship with the venue and they like know you and they know you're cool, they can help lower some of those expenses because they'll let you use their backline. They might give you a cheaper room fee because they know you're not going to be a pain in the ass. whatever. All that stuff can be a game changer. As a final note, you'll probably want to find some other cool local openers, and that should just be your friends who make similar music to you and the headliner who you think are maybe worth some tickets or would be a good fit on the show. But you also want to make sure they're people who are going to help promote the show. That's the next big part of this video. Promoting the show is a collaborative effort, okay? It's not just the headliner who's doing stuff. From the headliner, you can expect maybe a few social posts. You can expect maybe them to give you like a live promo reel that you can use in your own promotion. You can expect maybe like an invitation video like, hey, we're coming to play, I don't know, Grand Rapids on December 13th. Be there. They might do that for you. Not always. But that's kind of the extent of a lot of what they're going to do. Maybe sometimes they'll run ads on their own end, but you can't always expect people to do that. You might have to run the ads on your end, But also, make sure you're looking for local artists who are going to help promote the heck out of this thing, because so many people just post the show once and then never post again, right? So be picky about who you're booking on this thing. Keep that in mind the whole way through. And then otherwise think, okay, what other content can we create to promote the show the same way you would any other show that you play? Maybe you do a collaborative post with all the artists playing and cool photos to show it's going to be a one-of-a-kind night. Maybe you do like a weird skit to invite people to the show. Maybe you post a bunch of live footage of yourself playing live with a caption highlighting like, hey, we're playing this show on this day, come on out. Another one that I really love that I've seen a bunch of times on TikTok lately is people who will post videos where they just film themselves going around town with putting up flyers with the headliner song as the sound and some text on screen being like, hey, so-and-so's coming on this day to this venue, be there. People like that stuff and it works. So make sure you're creating that content, These are the secrets that get tickets sold. And, the more you do this, the more you learn how they work. Okay, so you've had the show, it's the end of the night, everything went great. Now you have to settle up. The headlining artist is going to expect something called a settlement sheet. This doesn't have to be fancy. There's an example one in the description of this video from my friend Ryan Schutte at Forthright Booking. And essentially what a settlement sheet is going, hey, here's how much money we made at the door. Here's the guarantee. Here's what the costs were on the show, which again, venue costs, marketing, paying the local openers, especially if you think you can afford it and you can swing it. You always want to calculate for that if you can. Here's the promoter cut, which is your cut for putting it on. And then here's the back end profit. Here's how we're going to split it. They're going to expect you to give that to them so they can see all the numbers and approve before they leave. And ideally, you pay them then and there. But you might have to wait a few days for the money from the ticketing company to come through. Make sure you cleared that with everyone beforehand if that is the case. Trust me. And then, that's kind of it. You want to then go, especially if there was a booking agent, you want to email that agent and send them that settlement sheet to show how it went. And you want to maybe give a small report of like, hey, everything went good and it was great and they sold a lot of merch and we were all really happy. We would love to have them back. But also run it back, because booking agents in particular will work with a bunch of artists in the same kind of niche, right? And so you can ask them on that report, especially if the show went well, I'd love to bring another one of your artists to town. Do you have anyone who might be a fit? And then you start to build up a relationship. And the thing is, if you start to build up relationships with agents, now you're on their radar as a cool band too, or a cool artist. And they become a lot more likely to want to maybe be your booking agent. I know so many promoters who have gotten booking agents just by consistently booking shows from agents whose roster they really liked and who their music fit with. And they ended up just winding up on the agency. It's a hack that, again, thousands of people have done. You can do it too, right? And otherwise, just, ask yourself, hey, who helped really promote this show? Who didn't? What can we do better next time? And then just grow from there. And so many people start by doing this, and then they scale up to like running their own little festival. And then maybe it's a big festival, and then other cool stuff starts to happen. So these are all options for you out there. I would really think about executing on some of them. I think there's a lot of cool opportunity here. So give it a shot. If you want to know more, subscribe or email me, matt@dropoutmedia.net. I'm always happy to answer questions. Take care.